is wild. This is wild. I'm just like this. This is the biggest thing I've ever recorded. It's just wild. This is wild that I'm doing this because I feel like I've been fighting it for so long to record this. I don't know when it'll be released. I don't know if I'll ever release. I don't know. This is wild. This is my journey so far. I named this Till This Point. That's what it's called. And I'm going to do this so everyone to see. Okay, charge. This is Saturday, September 13th, 2 o'clock. And there's Diana Ross. Just showing everybody there's proof that it's the day that I say it is. It is the 13th. It's a Saturday. I'm here in NYC, New York. And I'm going to share up until this point. We got a few pages to talk about. Whew. So I just got back from the park here, writing down all of this, and it is so much. I knew that my story has been such a long and wild story, but wow, going back and just writing it all down, just everything the past 3 years is beyond. Some of these, because of that 3 years worth of things and events, so I'm not going to know exactly how many days something was or how many weeks. I might be off a little bit. I won't be off a lot. There's that cat. Freaking cat. I'm going to probably be off a few days or weeks on certain things, and a lot of it I don't know specific dates. So yeah, bear with me. Whew, here we go. So this is Till This Point. So this is I'm going to say the beginning of this journey. Yeah, the beginning of this journey that I've been on. And this one starts back in my hometown. I'm from North Carolina. I'm from Mooresville, North Carolina. That's my hometown. I lived there for the first 26 or 27 years of my life. And ever since fifth grade, I used to tell my best friend, I probably used to tell all of my friends actually, but me and my best friend, Jackie, um, we used to talk about all the time, like, as soon as we graduate, as soon as we turn 18 and graduate school, we're going to get out of here. We're going to move to Los Angeles. We used to say that because, being that young, we don't know anything about bills. We don't know how much things cost and everything else. But we used to say that in the fifth grade. We used to be like, we're going to move. We're going to move to Los Angeles. And yeah, we're going to create a new life. And this town is just so not us, which was still true. And sorry if you keep hearing that high pitch, whatchamacallit, where I'm saying at. I guess his fire detector thing sucks. So yeah, so you'll keep hearing that beep, like the really loud beep. But we used to always say that. We used to say, we're getting out of here. And it over the years it started getting more real, just like, ooh, it costs how much to live here? Oh, you have to pack up all your things and rent a U-Haul or like a moving company and pay thousands of dollars to get it shipped across America, and jobs, and the rent there is really expensive compared to smaller town in North Carolina. And so things started getting real. Basically not having faith and not trusting that God will provide. At that time, I was not, you know, my spiritual journey really started after I moved. Okay, let me go to it. I'm sorry, y'all. I also have ADHD, so if you see a lot of jumping around, that's the main reason why I started writing down everything, because if I would have just winged it, it would have been everywhere. But yeah. But I had an apartment in my hometown and my lease was up. And me and my brother, because my brother lived with me, we wanted to go get another apartment. And so we went and looked and we applied for the first apartment that we were like, we want to live here. We got a letter back, I believe. We got a letter back or email back saying that we did not get the apartment. And we were upset. We were definitely upset because we was like, this is the apartment that we wanted. We thought we had it. They denied us. So I get back to my apartment and I'm sitting on my bed and I'm just thinking, and I'm like, I've always wanted to move out of this town. Now I'm 26 or 27 years old. I've never moved out of this town. I've always wanted to move. So that light bulb went off and I started researching places. I was just like, oh my gosh, let me research. I made a checklist and I was just like, I had things on my checklist that I needed to be checked, like safety for LGBTQ plus, because I'm like, oh my gosh, if I'm gonna move out of my hometown where like I know everybody and I have so much family and friends that can protect me if anything happens. Plus crime is not really like a thing there. And so I'm like, if I'm gonna move out of the state, like, and Los Angeles was one of the first ones I looked up, obviously. And money, money, seeing the dollar signs was just like, absolutely not. New York came up. I was like, absolutely not. Both of those are like New York City, Los Angeles is like the two most expensive cities in America. So it's like, absolutely not. And so I looked at other states. I watched so many I did research for a while, not like a long time. I did research maybe 2 weeks. It's been so long. I don't remember. I think I did 2 weeks of research of places, looking on my checklist and reading reviews and watching videos of people about their experiences living in these places. And I narrowed it down, and it was between, I think it was Portland, Oregon, and Austin, Texas. Those is what I narrowed it down to. And then I think I read this. Tell me if this is true or not. But I believe I read that in Portland, Oregon, it rains basically for like 3 months straight. It's just rainy and cloudy for like 3 months straight of the year. And I was just thinking, I was just like, okay, the way that my depression and anxiety is set up, if I woke up every day and it is rainy and cloudy, that would not be good. That would not be good. I'm just gonna say that it would not be good. No, because rainy and cloudy already just makes me like, it makes me want to sleep and it makes me want to just like, yeah. And so I was just like, Austin, Texas, it is. And so then I started planning my move to Austin. I planned my move to Austin for about, see, there it goes with the time again. I believe 2 months. Yeah, I believe 2 months. I started planning where I'm gonna live, how I'm gonna get there, how much to save up. Like, yeah, about 2 months. And so, yeah, that last month, because the lease was up and we had to move out of the apartment, I moved in with my mom for that last month. And so stayed with her for that month leading up to me moving to Austin. And there was my family, when I told them, they were not okay with it. They were upset. They were like, "Oh my gosh, moving to Austin, Texas. Like, what? This is crazy." And they were just concerned and worried, which, any family member would be. But I was like, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I've always said I wanted to do it. This is my life. And yeah, so I packed up and yeah, I moved to Austin, Texas. I lived in Austin, Texas for about a year and a half. And towards the end of me being in Austin, Texas, which I was not planning on moving out of Austin, Texas. Yeah, I was not planning on moving out of Austin, but I did go through a period towards the end where I was feeling a little lost. And I feel like this is very relatable. Just feeling lost in a way of just like, what am I doing? Like you have this job, you're working your job, you have a home, you have your friends, but it just feels like, what am I doing? Like, why do like I don't feel purposeful. Like, it just feels like going through the motions. And it's like, yes, Austin is a great place. Austin is, to this day, my favorite place I've ever lived so far. Austin, Texas is great. It's a great place. And, but I just felt like lost. And yeah, and things. Oh, yeah. Also, every time that I'm about to move somewhere, things start to shift. And that's how I know that this is legit. Like, m- my move to Austin from my hometown in North Carolina, around that time, before I even told people that I was moving, things started to shift. Friendships started to shift. Like, relationships started to shift. It started to kind of like push away, and things started to come together. And like, so it made the transition easier. And so around that time, that was happening too in Austin, where things were starting to shift too. So I feel like I've kind of always been like a prayer, but not as much, not being really in it, being very spiritual, but a prayer if I need help. And so that's what I did. I had a night where it was like, God, before I went to sleep, I was like, God, please, please, please show me in a dream or a sign, a message, a big sign that is very, very obvious for me, because I, I, I'm still getting there. I feel like I have a feeling, and I feel what God is telling me. But for the longest time, it's, I'm not that type of person that like people say like, oh, God told me this, like I heard God's voice say, or like, God said something in my ear. So I'm like, God, I need a sign. I have ADHD. My mind is everywhere all the time. The attention is everywhere. And so I'm like, I need an obvious sign or a dream, Lord. And I said that prayer and I went to sleep that night. And I woke, well, while I was sleeping, I had a dream, um, that I was in Los Angeles. And I'm not going to describe what happens in all of my dreams, because some things I do want to keep personal. I am going to share a lot that I've never shared with anybody. But yeah, that dream, I was in Los Angeles and I woke up. And the thing was, before going to sleep, I wasn't thinking about Los Angeles. I wasn't thinking about, I'm getting out of Austin, Texas, because I love Austin, Texas. So it wasn't like I was thinking about places like, oh, God's going to show me a dream where I'm moving somewhere. If God would have showed me a dream of me being a handyman somewhere, I'd have been like, okay, this is what God showed me. Let me look into that. If God would have showed me a dream of me being in Alaska, and I hate being cold. If he would have shown me a dream that I was in Alaska, I would have been like, guess that's where God wants me to go. Let me try to figure this out. I probably would have cried. But yeah. So it's not like a thing where I was like, I've always wanted to move to Los Angeles. At this one, I was not thinking about moving at all. I was just like, show me what to do, God. And having that dream and waking up and being like, whoa, he showed me a dream I was in Los Angeles. And yeah, that next day I called one of my really good friends that still lived in North Carolina. And around that time, we rekindled our friendship, because remember, I said that like not all of my friendships, but a lot of my friendships start to like drift off, and people start to get into relationships that they take more time with, or people start to get really busy or just going through stuff. So things start to shift every time I'm about to move. And so that was one of the friendships that shifted right before moving. And so while living in Austin and having that time apart, we rekindled our friendship. And so we've been talking, I think 2 weeks before me having this dream and everything. So I called her and I was just like, I prayed before going to sleep for God to show me a sign or a dream on what I should do. And he showed me I was in Los Angeles. And she's like, come back to North Carolina. She's like, you can stay with me. I think she had a 2 or 3 bedroom. She was like, you can come stay with me for 3 months. You do not have to pay to stay here, but you can come live with me for 3 months, save up all your money, and then go to Los Angeles. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, let me talk to my landlord. Let me see if I can do that. And she was like, okay. And I talked to my landlord and got that situated. And then I I packed my car up again. Oh yeah, and I didn't even, yeah. So me going to Austin, Texas, I had a car, and the keyword had, and had was actually on the license plate too, HID, and then some numbers, which is so funny. But yeah, I had a car that I had for 6 years, and that's why I drove to Austin, Texas. I drove for the first time to Austin, Texas. Sorry, I'm backing it up a little bit. Drove all the way from North Carolina to Austin, Texas, which is crazy because before then I've never drove over 2 hours by myself in a car. So that was crazy driving 20 hours. So yeah, I packed up my car and drove 20 hours to North Carolina. And yeah, I went back to North Carolina. Let me try to stay on track because I tend to get off track. Went back home to North Carolina, and I surprised some friends, and I surprised my mom. There was a friend on Facebook that was selling plates, Kyra. She was selling some like baby shower plates where they have like food that is usually at baby showers. So good, little weenies. Okay, and so I bought me and my mama a plate, and I was like, "This is how I'm gonna surprise her." I bought her a plate, and I went to her job to surprise her. She did not know I was in town. I was in town for a few days because I was trying to figure out how I'm gonna do it and everything. And plus, 20-hour drive, I was basically like in the bed, just like for a few days because I absolutely that is driving for a long time is the worst thing ever for me. Like it is mentally and physically torture on me, like really bad. And so, yeah, I went to her job, and I still wish to this day that I had a video that I would have been recording or had somebody else, one of her coworkers, record or take pictures. But yeah, I surprised her at work, and she like bursted out in tears and was hugging me and was like, "Oh my gosh!" And it was very emotional. And yeah, saw her, saw my other siblings, saw some friends, and believe like a week later, I, yeah. And then like a week and a half later, I went to go visit her again and my two younger siblings. So I went to her place, my mom's place, my mom and stepdad's place, and my two little brothers lived with them. So I went there and visited them and had a good time. We laughed so much, me and mama. We laughed so much and just talked. And I told her, I was like, because she like asked, like, so you're like staying? And I was like, not quite. I was like, I'm only going to be here for 3 months. I was like, God showed me a dream that I'm going to be going to like Los Angeles. I'm going to be in Los Angeles. So I'm following what he says. And she was kind of like, she's like, ugh, because like no mom wants to see their kid move even further. First 20 hours away, and then now 40 hours away across the country. But we still had a good time, and we hugged. I hugged her before leaving. One second. Exactly. Foreshadowing. Foreshadowing. Wow. That is foreshadowing. Um, a few days later, hmm, I get a call from my older brother that um, our mom was in the hospital, that she had a stroke and she was in the hospital, and that she is probably not going to make it. Um, yeah, I went to the hospital. I pulled up, but by the time I got there, um, they were shipping her out. So I didn't get to see her. So I was in the parking lot when the rest of my family, my sister, my older brother, my brother in law, my brother's girlfriend, my aunts, and grandma was in the parking lot. And they were shipping her off to another hospital, and that's where everybody else was going. And I was like, okay. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to that. I was still like literally the whole drive there, me getting dressed and driving there. It was just like I just felt like numb. It was cloudy outside. I felt numb. It felt weird. Um, it didn't feel real. It felt like a weird dream. Cause like waking up and it's like cloudy, and while everybody was driving to the other hospital she was being shipped to like 30 or 40 minutes away. um I just decided, I was just like, I'm not gonna go. I was like, I'm not gonna go because they told me while I was in the parking lot that she was brain dead. She was brain dead. She has tubes down her mouth. And yeah. And I just had a moment while I was driving, and I was just like, I don't want my last memory of my mom to be of her being unconscious in a bed with tubes down her throat and brain dead. I want my last memory to be how it was whenever I was at her house a few days before, of us just laughing. Literally, the last time I touched my mom is when we hugged, and we just had, it was all positive, great vibes that whole visit. So I was like, I'm not gonna go because it was already just like, she's most likely not gonna make it. There's still a possible chance, but I was just like, I don't want to be, because everybody was crying whenever I showed up. Everyone was, was just done crying. It was a lot. And I was just like, I don't want that to be my last memory. If this is, I prayed so much. Um, yeah, I went back to my friend's place where I was like staying, and I prayed. My friend was there, and um, I got the phone call that, I got the phone call that she passed. And yeah, believe that day, yeah, later on in the day, I got the phone call that she passed. And everybody was at the hospital. I think almost all of my family was at the hospital except me, and everyone was like crying. I got a few phone calls from family members being like, Mike, like, come to the hospital. We're all here. Like, we're all here for each other. But I was just like, I don't want that to be the last memory. I don't. Which some people still don't understand, but for me, I just, no. Um, so yeah, that happened. And so I decided to stay in North Carolina for a year. I decided to stay there for a year. Um, I feel like it would be weird that my mom passed and then 2 months later I'm like gone, because I do have other siblings. I have 5 siblings on my mom's side. And so, yeah. Um, so I stayed for a year, and I stayed and I worked, and almost a year later, it was probably 11 months later. Oh, okay. But before that, I just had so many synchronicities. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this is where the spiritual awakening happened.